So how is it going, guys, and welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be covering 10 of the best videos on YouTube based around Skyrim weapons that have been recreated in real life. Some of which are actual real weapons that people have made, and some of them are props as well. You know, there's a good mix of both throughout the video, but the amount of creativity that goes into this stuff is truly amazing. And considering you guys really enjoyed the one I made for Fallout, I thought why not do 10 of the best ones I've seen so far for Skyrim on YouTube. As always, be sure to check out the people who created these in the description below. I mean, some of these guys deserve major props just for the level of creativity that goes into this stuff. And as well, be sure to check out Fantastical Gamer in the description for the original idea. But enough wasting time, jumping straight into the video today. For the first one, by the way, in no particular order, we have the Daedric Axe by Aweme with the Man at Arms Reforged series. Now, these guys do an outstandingly good job at making this weapon come to life. Like, seriously, this shit is insane. They start by using a 2x2 piece of mild steel for the jacket and a 1084 steel piece for the edge of the axe itself. And that's just the beginning. After a lot of time and hard work, they forged the primary body of the axe and then eventually moved on to the overlays for the weapon itself, which they used a CNC plasma cutter to create. With all pieces made, it ended up being around 20 pieces to layer up and rivet together, and before adding all those overlays and constructing them together, they had to grind in the serrated look to the edge of the blade itself, which turned it from a slicking edge blade into a flesh ripping edge, which just tells you the level of detail they've gone to make this thing just as badass in real life. Overall, the finished build turned out great. I mean, like, seriously, from the detailing work to how they made it, the amount of effort and creativity that went into this, it truly is a work of art. So serious props going out to these guys for making such a badass weapon. Number 9. Mehrunes Razor by Garrin Bufo. So Garrin makes a great version of Mehrunes Razor using steel, wax, bronze and wood, and during his video he doesn't really explain too much about the build. It's just more of a showcase of the process of how he made it. Of course, you can see in the background he starts off with this steel part, to craft the base of Mehrunes Razor. Once he finished, he then moved on to the handle, in which he used wax to create it, cutting it down to shape with a knife and sanding it down as well to add in that level of detail. Once done, he then moved on to the base handle of the weapon, in which he used wood for, and again he cut this down and sanded it down to match up with the blade itself. Once all of these pieces were done, sanded down and added with detailing, he put them all together, and what came of that was epic. You guys can see here he did a very good job at this. Serious props going out to Garrin there for the build on this weapon. Number 8, the Daedric Dagger by Brokkr knives. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right there, but what's crazy about this is that he stated in the video that he was only 16 at the time of making this, and it was the 5th knife that he ever created. And I have to say, with all that considering, he did a pretty damn good job at making his very own version of the Daedric Dagger. Now, I'm not entirely sure on all the materials used in the process of making this, aside from the obvious, of course, being metal and wood, as he doesn't really explain much in his video, but he does show off the process of making it and how he went about doing it. Although it doesn't exactly match the Daedric Dagger in-game, I think he did a very good job at creating his own masterful version. You can see here again, if you want to check out the full process and how he did it, you can check out the link in the description. But overall, a pretty damn good build there from Brokkr knives. Coming up for number 7, we have epic fantasy with the glass dagger from Skyrim, and this is a prop version which uses a mix of balsa wood, liquid rubber, clay, easy cast resin and more to create. He started the process by making a template, or I guess a model, out of balsa wood, in which he printed out a version of the blade to use as a template, and then traced around that template into an 8-inch piece of balsa wood to then cut it out. Once he was done with the wooden model, which I have to say he did a very good job at making, by the way, he then moves on to make a mold from this wooden model, in which he uses clay and liquid rubber to make. Once the base of the mold was complete, he then pours in the easy cast resin to form the weapon itself. Once this process was complete, he now has the base of the weapon completely done, or I guess what would be the glass part of the dagger, and now he has to move on to the handle, in which he used foam to make. With a nice bit of detailing work and time, he finished the project and it came out great. I mean, like, seriously, as far as props go, this is one of the best I've seen for Skyrim so far, so very, very good job there by Epic Fantasy. Number 6, the Daedric Sword by Evil Effects. Now, Evil Effects is coming in with his own version of the Daedric Sword, and the first thing he did was pull the game up on screen and scaled the weapon to proper size using a projector, and then traced around that onto a piece of paper. Once he had the template down, he then used this to trace around it onto some 1/2-inch thick EVA foam, and then cut it out to make the basic shape of the weapon, which consisted of 4 foam layers in a total of 2 for the base and 2 for the upper layers. He also uses a metal rod for the core of the weapon to make it more sturdy and to also hold its shape better as well. Once basic construction was done, he then moves on to the detailing of the weapon, which he first draws out with a pen and then burns it out using a hot knife to give it more detail and texture, which again, it just goes to show how much time, effort and creativity really goes into making this type of stuff. After a while of sanding down to make the whole thing look smooth and sleek, and of course finishing up with the detailing work, he then adds a few layers of paint to finish the build. I mean, overall it looked great. Again, it wasn't an exact match in game, but as far as props go, he did a very good job, and he also stated as well that this was more of a test run to see how well he'd do it, and he'll be making another one in the future to finish off a cosplay that he was working on. For number 5, we have Wuuthrad, the legendary axe by Punished Props. So the guys over at Punished Props make awesome prop builds all the time, and one of their most recent ones was the Wuuthrad axe. For this build, he uses a lot of materials that can be purchased from your local hardware store, such as EVA foam, PVC pipes, acrylic paints, contact cement, spray varnish and much more. They start the process by printing, taping together and cutting out the base template of the axe, and then once done, they place this template onto 10mm thick EVA foam, trace around it and then eventually used a bandsaw to cut the foam to the axe's shape. The axe itself was made of 2 halves, which was eventually stuck together using contact cement, as you can see there from the video in the background. Once the base of the weapon was made, he then moved on to more of the sculpting work, in which he used a rotary tool and a sanding drum to round off all of the edges and make everything much more smooth, and also used the hot knife for more of the in-depth detailing work on the weapon itself. Finishing up with the handle, they used a PVC pipe which was cut down and sanded down to shape, and then eventually wrapped in EVA foam to match the weapon. Some fine detailing work and a little bit of acrylic paint later, we have the finished build, and again, this looks great. You know, as far as props go, this is a very, very good prop build there, coming in from Punished Props. Number 4, the Nightingale Blade by ZaziNombies. Now, if you've watched my Fallout video based around this, you'll know that they made a Fatman launcher out of Lego, which is absolutely insane. And when it comes to Lego builds in general, these guys are some of the best. One of the best ones I've seen from them on Skyrim is of course the Nightingale Blade. The blade itself measures 35.5 inches long and is built with an estimated 300 Lego bricks, which uses two main colours, light grey for the steel blade and then different shades of black for the handle. He also uses things like slope bricks and personalised printed pieces to give the weapon more depth and effect and try and match it as much as he can to the Skyrim variant, and considering this was made out of freaking Lego, he does a pretty damn good job. Like, he did a very good job on the Fallout one with the freaking Fat Man, and in my opinion for the Skyrim one, he does a great job on this as well. He also states in the video that the weapon is built to be very stable, you know, a weapon that can be swung around with any pieces falling off, as you would come to expect. And I mean, what else can I say? It's a freaking Lego version of the Nightingale Blade, so serious props going out there to ZaziNombies again for this weapon. For number 3, we have epic fantasy again, this time with the glass sword from Skyrim. So he makes this weapon in a very similar way to the first one, being of course the glass dagger, and he pretty much starts by making a full-size drawing of the sword on a poster board. Then, using that drawing, he traces it out onto some balsa wood and ends up making a balsa wood model out of the weapon itself. Using that wooden model and some liquid rubber, he makes a mold for the weapon and then uses easy cast resin to fill the mold and make the majority of the weapon. Once the majority of the weapon has been made, he now moves on to the handle, which he uses the original template for, and traces that original template onto some foam and then cuts the foam to make the handle shape. After some detailing work done on the handle and a little bit of paint, the weapon is now finished, and I have to say, he did a great job on this one. Just like he did for the glass dagger, this one also looks pretty damn awesome. Number 2, Mehrunes Razor by KyleofAsgard. So Kyle ends up making his very own version of Mehrunes Razor, which he made using wood, plastic and also PVC piping for the handle. He starts with the wood to make the base of the weapon and then eventually moves on to the plastic parts for the top and bottom of the weapon to give it more shape. Once the basic construction of the weapon was complete, all that was left was the detailing work, painting, and he even uses aluminum foil for the edges to give off more of a metal effect surrounding the weapon itself. So he's gone to quite a big extent here to make the weapon as detailed and as cool as possible, and the finished build you can see on screen looks great. I mean, as far as props go, again, with that aluminum foil making the edges look a lot more shiny and a lot more sort of metal-like, it genuinely turned out great. So props out to KyleofAsgard for this one. And finally, for number 1, we have Aweme again, this time making the Orcish Battle Axe. I mean, these guys are just insanely talented. To be able to bring a weapon from Skyrim to real life and make it just as badass as what it would be in Skyrim, you have to be insanely talented to pull this off. And I mean, these guys pull it off in absolute style. They started with a full-scale pattern for the Orc Axe by making a photocopy and blowing it up to around 60 inches in overall length, then using 50 and 60 hardened spring steel for the main parts of the weapon itself. After he cut out the rough profile on the bandsaw, he then went to hammering the bevels using a power hammer, and also used a belt grinder to really refine the shape of the weapon. Once the main portion of the weapon was complete, it was then time to move on to the handle, in which they used a piece of red oak that is 3 inches square and cut it out on the bandsaw, and then again used the belt grinder to get it down to the perfect shape and size. Just to show the level of detail they go to make these, they even used a knuckle off the buffalo femur for the bottom of the axe handle, which just shows the level of creativity that these guys have when making weapons like this. Anyway, to finish up the handle, they used a strip of leather that he cut into a spiral, leaving torn edges, and placed it in a crisscross pattern around the bottom, of course, to give off more effect and also make it look really badass. And then, of course, a little bit of detailing work later, the weapon is now finished, and it looks as badass as you would think an Orcish Battle Axe would look in real life. I mean, just look at how freaking awesome this thing looks. I mean, seriously, these guys are insanely talented. And again, if you want to check out the full process and how they did this and the different materials they used, be sure to check out their full video in the description below. So anyways, that's the list of some of the best real life weapons and props based around Skyrim that I have personally seen on YouTube. Let me know your favorite in the comment section down below, and remember, I'm doing an Amazon gift card giveaway, and all you have to do to enter is subscribe. That's literally it, and in about a week I'll be announcing the winners in a video, so be sure to check your YouTube inboxes around that time, as that's how I'll be messaging you and the only way I can message you if you are the winner. Also, be sure to check out all of the people who create these in the description below and subscribe to all of their channels. I mean, they are insanely talented when it comes to this stuff, and I thought, why not do a top 10 of the best ones that I've seen so far into one video. So as always, if you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like. Your support, of course, is greatly appreciated on the channel. Subscribe if you are new around, and I will catch you guys next time with a brand new video. Peace out.